Assalamualaikum. We are from MFC 2204B. Our group consists of 4 people, and today we would like to present about interim and segmental reporting. Hope you guys enjoy, and please lend us your ear. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Me and my groupmates will be presenting on Axiata. For Axiata, it is commonly known as Axiata and was formerly known as TM International Berhad. It is a Malaysian multinational telecommunication conglomerate with extensive operations in Asia. The company was formerly known as TM International Berhad and was founded on 12 June 1992. The headquarters is at Axiata Tower 9, Jalan Station Central 5, Kuala Lumpur Central, 50470 Kuala Lumpur. Axiata Group Berhad products are mobile network and operation, network infrastructure and digital internet company that serves 6 countries, which are Nepal, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Abdul Adib bin Abdullah and my student ID is 2022755523. For this presentation, I would like to start with factors to consider having a segment reporting. There are 5 nature, which is nature of the product or services. Number 2, nature of the production processes. Number 3, type or classes of customer by the products or the services. Number 4, methods used to distribute the products or provide that with services. And lastly, nature of regularity environment. As we all know, Axiata's Group Berhad main product are mobile network operation, which is something involved with system in mobile phone. So, what the factor that they should consider in having a segment reporting? Number 1, nature of the product or services. In Axiata's Group Berhad, the product or services they provide mostly in telecommunications. Number 2, methods to distribute the product or services to their customer. In Axiata's Group Berhad, they use digitally to distribute their product. And number 3, type or class of the customer. There are 5, which is number 1, supplier. Number 2, shareholder. Number 3, government. Number 4, local communities. And lastly, number 5, employee. Next, type of segment in Axiata's Group Berhad. The type of segment in Axiata's Group Berhad is geographical. As we can see, they mainly involve their product in 6 countries. Number 1, Malaysia. Number 2, Sri Lanka. Number 3, Bangladesh. And number 4, Indonesia. Number 5, Nepal. And lastly, Cambodia. Next, Chief of the Decision Making, or we can call it CODM. Before I start introducing the CODM of Axiata's Group Berhad, I would like to tell the responsibility of the CODM. Number 1, they are responsible for the day-to-day operations. Number 2, they are responsible for proposing and develop company strategy. Number 3, ensuring executive team give appropriate priority to provide reports. And lastly, makes a decision about allocation of overall resources and assessing their performance. So, let's get into the Axiata's Group Berhad's CODM. We have Datuk Muhammad Idham Nawawi, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Telkom Axiata Berhad. Next, we have Rajiv Sethi, Chief Executive Officer, Robi Axiata Limited. And next, we have Andy Chong, Chief Executive Officer or Managing Director for Ensel Axiata Limited. Next, we have Mohamed Adlan Ahmad Tajuddin, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer for Edotco Group. Next, we have Shianta Abeikun, the Chief Executive Officer for Boost. And lastly, we have Srinivas Gatamni, the Chief Executive Officer for ADA, or we know as Advertising Data Analysis.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Amir Afiq bin Shukri. I will present for part C, which is segmental report. In this part, I will explain how to identify the reportable or non-reportable segment, how to calculate 10% and 75% threshold, and I will present the new segmental report. Next, we move to the process how to identify reportable or non-reportable segment. In order to identify whether the segment is reportable or non-reportable, we have to do 10% threshold test. There are three bases to calculate the threshold test, which are revenue basis, profit loss basis, and asset basis. For revenue basis, the combined revenue of external and internal of all operating segment must be 10% or more. For profit loss basis, the total profit making or loss of all operating segment must be 10% or more. And lastly, for asset basis, the segment assets are 10% or more of total assets of all operating segment. For Axiata Group Berhad, they are using revenue basis in order to calculate the 10% threshold test. Next, if the percentage is more or equal to 10%, we can classify it as reportable segment. However, if the percentage is less than 10%, we should classify it as non-reportable segment. For 75% threshold test, the total external revenue of reportable segment must be more or equal to 75% of the total entity external revenue. If the 75% rule is not met, additional reportable segment should be identified. Next, I will show to you how to calculate the 10% threshold test for Axiata Group Berhad. As I mentioned before, Axiata Group Berhad will be using revenue basis to conduct their 10% threshold test. There are 8 operating elements in Axiata Group Berhad, which are Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Cambodia, infrastructure and others. In order to calculate the 10% threshold test for Malaysia, the formula is operating revenue divided by total operating revenue and multiplied by 100%. For Malaysia, they had passed the 10% threshold test because they got 24.74%. The same formula will be used by the other 7 operating segment. As the result, Axiata Group Berhad produced 4 reportable segment, which are Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Next, I will move to how to calculate the 75% threshold test. The formula is total external revenue divided by total external revenue of all operating segment and multiplied by 100%. After the calculation, Axiata Group Berhad, the reportable segment will be the same and no need to identify additional reportable segment.
Next, new segmental reporting. The new segmental reporting has been constructed and it has produced 5 reportable segments and 1 non-reportable segment. The 5 reportable segments consist of Malaysia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Next, the one non-reportable segment is Cambodia. To determine the reportable and non-reportable and preparing the operating segment, adjustment which is 10% and 75% are essential in preparing the operating segment.
For the advantages for segmental reporting are transparency. The critical advantage of segment reporting is transparency. Analysts, potential investors, and other stakeholders need complete information to evaluate a company's sustainability and growth and monitor its management performance. The risk for investment in the equity of a company that discloses complete information is lower than a company that withholds information. Greater disclosure should therefore bring down the cost of capital for a firm. Number 2, better understanding of company's performance. Management and shareholders would be able to identify the overview of the current situation of the company's operations. Since segmental reports display in detail the complete information of any outcomes resulted from the decisions made by the company, it is easier for the shareholders to analyze their progress while management improve their business performance. For the disadvantage of segmental reporting for Axiata is allocation problems. In business organization such as Axiata, where more than one product is dealt, they will likely to have costs which are common to more than one products. Allocation of joint costs becomes a complex problem while doing segment reporting. Number 2 is difficulty in providing data. Measurement problems have created problem of difficulty in providing while doing segment reporting, since measurement problem influences the feasibility of disclosing certain information. One should look at the problem of determining segment information. If we look upon profit and loss account statement, we immediately run into trouble with the sales figure, particularly inter-segment sales. For Axiata's interim report, the basis of preparation of the interim report, it is prepared in accordance with the applicable disclosure provisions, which are Malaysian Financial Reporting Standards, MFRS 134, Interim Financial Reporting. It's on MP Index 690 of the Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad. Main Market Listing Requirements, LR. It was stated in their explanatory notes that this report compiles with MFRS 134. The interim period is considered as a separate accounting period from the annual cycle and is meant to predict and describe the financial position and financial performance for the period, which will be a segment of the annual period. For the accounting policies under interim report for Axiata, first one, they use annual improvements to MFRS 9 financial instruments, fees in the 10% test for the recognition of financial liabilities. The smooth and successful implementation of MFRS 9 will depend on the type and complexity of the financial instruments held and whether changes to current system and processes were made in Axiata Berhad. Second is amendments to MFRS 3 business combinations. Reference to conceptual framework requires the entity determine whether assets required and any liability assumed constitute to Axiata.
Types of interim report that Axiata Berhad use is quarterly report. It includes statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, statement of financial position, statement of cash flow, and statement of changes in equity as at 31st December 2021 and the immediately preceding year 2020. Period for current and comparative of each statement for statement of financial position, the current is 31st December 2021 and the period is 1st January until 31st December 2021. And for comparative is 31st December 2020 and the period is for 1st January 2020 till 31st December 2020. For statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income is the current is 31st December 2021 and the period is 1st October 2021 until 31st December 2021. And the comparative is 31st December 2020 and the period for the comparative is the 1st October 2020 until 31st December 2020. And for statement cash flow is the current is 31st December 2021 and the comparative is 31st December 2020. And the last one for the statement of changes in equity, for the current is 31st December 2021 and the period is 1st January 2021 until 31st December 2021. And the comparative is as at 31st December 2020 and the period is 1st January 2020 until 31st December 2020. There are two adjustments. The first one is the cost of inventories as at 31st December 2021 is RM 222 million and 747,000. Meanwhile, the net realizable value of the inventories is RM 203 million and 454,000 as at 31st December 2021. So this is the measurement and the calculation for this adjustment. For the second adjustment, during the current year ending 2021, the trade and other receivable amounted to RM 5,60,933 ringgit. As at 31st December 2021, the company estimated that the amount would be only 10% uncollectible by the year ended. So the calculation is gross amount times with collective rate and you get the net amount to be reported. As the net amount to be reported is RM 4,554,840. As you guys can see, this is the statement before and after adjustment. Before adjustment, the inventories is RM 222 million and 747,000. After adjustment, the inventories become 203 million and 454,000 ringgit. For the account receivable, before the adjustment, it's RM 5,060,933. After the adjustment is 4,554,840 ringgit.